Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AltaSea and the first Urban Renewable Energy Summit. Yes, big round of applause, yes. Mostly to make sure that everybody in the back, all of our exhibitors, please come forward and grab a seat. You will not want to miss this program. I am Terry Tamminen, the President and CEO of AltaSea here at the Port of Los Angeles. And we welcome you here today. Thank you for coming. Everybody in the back, if you could just let everybody who's already walking outside there know to come on in, come back in, and we'll get things started. For those of you who don't know about AltaSea, we are a nonprofit that was formed to take over this 35-acre campus and turn it into a hub for the blue economy, for education, for workforce training, for research, and very importantly, to support and build out the blue economy. So what do I mean by the blue economy? Everybody knows the green economy. It's things like solar, we're going to be talking about today, electric cars, all those great things that are making our planet more sustainable. But what's the blue economy? It's things like aquaculture, being able to grow kelp and other seaweed from which we can extract food and fuel and pharmaceuticals and industrial materials, just the most amazing plants on the planet when you know what to do with it. And we've got the researchers here from universities and startups that are doing just that. We're also learning how to do aquaculture on land, where you use recirculating aquaculture systems in a warehouse like this, and you can grow fish and all kinds of other protein from the ocean, but right in a warehouse. We also work on things like renewable energy, today's topic, but in our case, it's renewable energy from the ocean, harnessing wave and tidal forces to create clean, green energy for the future. We work with several universities on removing carbon from the ocean, carbon pollution that we've pumped into the atmosphere. About a third of that has been absorbed by the ocean, and now we're trying to figure out how to take that out. And one of the byproducts of that process is creating green hydrogen, which is another area that we work on to try to decarbonize ports so that the ships and all of the container handling equipment will be much cleaner in the future, not far in the future, very soon, so that we can improve our air quality, especially around the ports. We also work with underwater robotics and mapping and sensors. Bob Ballard, who found the Titanic, has a workshop here, and he makes his drones and underwater products and sends them out to find more Titanics. In all of that, we do K through 12 field trips, and we invite the public to be here all the time. Now, before I go on and before we have more of the program, I want to invite our councilman from the very famous 1-5 district of the city of Los Angeles, Tim McOsker, to join us on the stage and share a few words about how important the blue and green economy is.
Thank you so much, Terry. Tim McOsker, councilman of the 1-5. And there's a story behind the 1-5, and I know Sheree knows it. We used to be the 15th council district of the city of Los Angeles. No more. We are now one district, 5 beloved communities. And it actually pertains to what we're doing today, what we're doing at AltaSea, what we're doing across our district. One district, 5 beloved communities from Watts to the waterfront. Watts, Harbor Gateway, Wilmington, Harbor City, and San Pedro, the home of AltaSea. We need to make sure that as we lean in and commit ourselves to the blue economy and to advancing businesses and opportunities and innovation in the ocean, that it is an opportunity open to all. Opportunity open to all. And so when I was here at AltaSea, before the great Terry Tamminen took over and before Jenny Crusoe kicked me out, that's just an inside joke, we were so committed to making sure that this blue economy and this use of the ocean to preserve it and to create innovation and opportunities to make people's lives better and to increase economic opportunity was available to all. And so I'm so grateful to those innovators and those entrepreneurs who are here today to say, what's our role in the blue economy? Thank you. God bless you. It's great to see you. I wanted to stop by for just a brief minute. I love being at AltaSea, and I love the fact that you're here today. Have a great and innovative conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's great to have friends in high places, and Tim never forgets his heritage here at AltaSea. You know, they say success has many parents and failure is an orphan. Well, one of the many parents of our success is Tim McOsker. Give him another great round of applause. This is also the guy that's going to make sure our jobs are preserved here in the port. So somebody very important to know. So thanks so much. I think we also may have one of our harbor commissioners here, Lee Williams. Did Lee make it today? He always comes. Any of our other harbor commissioners here? No. Sean Kearns, are you here from Congresswoman Barragan's office? Congresswoman Barragan, a big supporter here, has helped us build our flex labs, which are under construction a little bit down further north of here inside the warehouse. These will be labs that students can borrow. They can book time on these laboratories to run their experiments from the ocean for different kinds of marine biology or other experiments. Our startup companies can use them rather than having to build their own labs and facilities. Very exciting to have that kind of capability. We have so many friends and partners here at AltaSea, it's hard to name them all, but I do want to note that Ann Carpenter from Braid Theory is right here. Stand up and wave. If you are an entrepreneur who has an idea for the blue or green economy and you're not really sure how to get it off the ground, or maybe you've started and you need a little help, come talk to Ann and her team at Braid Theory. That's what they exist to do. Yep. And so many other great partners here. Like I said, I wish I could name you all, but I want to get on with our main program. And the first thing I want to do is to mention our wonderful sponsors of the program. I think we have a slide. Yes, there they are. Community Build, Electric, the Dowd. Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to make sure I was seeing that right. Dowd Solar Group, the Chamber of Commerce of San Pedro. Elise Swanson is here. Yeah, we're there. Big round of applause for the, and the Village Solutions Foundation. Thank you. Let's give them all a great big round of applause. Thank you. And before I introduce the host of our program and get things kicked off, I do want to just mention, become part of AltaSea. You can sign up for a membership, get one of these very cool caps or other swag. There's a table back there. You can learn more about how to become part of AltaSea and get signed up for our newsletter. You're going to learn a lot about the blue economy. Trendings, which comes out every month, is really exciting about things going on in the ocean. And we are an ocean planet. 70% of this planet is covered by ocean. So you'll stay in touch with what's happening here and all around the world. We do open houses every other month, so you'll be notified about those. And please consider this your home away from home. And anybody in a blue t-shirt, in fact, there's my partner, Jenny Crusoe, right back there wearing one of our new t-shirts. Give her a round of applause. She's one of our most important founders. And anybody in one of those t-shirts can help you learn more about AltaSea and how to get involved. So with that, let's get into our program. On behalf of the summit's co-hosts, AltaSea and the Minority Renewable Energy Project, we want to welcome you to our first Urban Renewable Energy Summit, where both green and blue innovation are brought together right here in our 110-year-old but recently renewed warehouses. Clean energy plays a really important role in California's climate resiliency goals and, of course, cleaning up our air, and in obtaining energy security and expanding economic growth. It's absolutely imperative that we transition to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, which can be onshore or offshore, wave energy, and hydrogen from green sources to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, decrease greenhouse gas emissions, and again, create a more sustainable energy future. California's energy goal is to have 60% of its energy from renewables by 2030, just a few years from now, and ramping up to 100% by 2045. And in our state, clean energy jobs are expanding 4 times faster than any other industry in the state. So today we're going to hear from local experts, economists, entrepreneurs, and innovators, and those in the workforce development space who are working to expand access to these jobs equitably and to communities that have historically not been included. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way and let the fun begin. Let me introduce you to one of the most dynamic, thoughtful, exciting innovators and public servants, Starlett Quarles, who's the founder and CEO of Minority Renewable Energy Project and a visionary of today's summit. Big round of applause for Starlett. Knock him down.
Thank you, Terry. Everybody give Terry a round of applause again. I'll pay you later, Terry. You did good. You got the cliff notes. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Come on now, let's give it again. How's everybody doing? Fantastic, fantastic. Again, my name is Starlett Quarles, and I want to thank you welcome you to the Urban Renewable Energy Summit. Now, the question is, why are we here? Terry alluded to it. How many of you know that California is going 100% renewable by 2045? Before Terry said it, how many of us knew it? So what does that mean? That means that we're going to be dependent on God's energy for our homes, our cars, how we power our TVs, get our Netflix, charge our phone. It's all going to be dependent on the sun. And we're here today because there's a whole lot of people, especially in the Black community and in communities of color, that don't know that, right? They don't know that we are having a clean transition to 100% renewable by 2045. Now, the goal of this summit is not only let you know that California is transitioning into clean, but also to educate you on the benefits, the opportunities, and the access to resources. We have a bunch of fantastic blue and green exhibitors here to tell you just exactly how do we transition from sustainable development to workforce development and to entrepreneurship. Now, our theme today is reclaiming our sun and water. And to set the tone, about a year ago, now I'm seeing, where's my CNN junkies? Okay, I love me some CNN. So about a year ago, I was watching CNN, and I saw this excerpt on renewable energy and the faith-based community. So I want to play for you faith leaders uniting to combat climate change, just to set the tone.
The Biden White House allocated $370 billion to clean energy and climate 2 years ago with the Inflation Reduction Act. Since then, more than 750,000 families have used the new tax benefits to put up solar panels. But one of the groups might surprise you. CNN's Elisa Raffa spoke with faith leaders uniting in climate action.
After noticing more of her patients dealing with the impacts of longer allergy seasons, more extreme heat, and increasing air pollution, Dr. Neha Pathak's search for prescriptions took her down a seemingly unconventional path.
It can have a big impact on your own personal resilience. So I really looked to my faith tradition to help bolster that resilience for me.
Through that search, this physician and practicing Hindu found herself serving as a board member for Georgia Interfaith Power and Light. Her work towards climate and spiritual solutions is more connected than you might think.
So the first thing we do when we wake up, in one of our prayers, is to thank Mother Earth for allowing us to step on her all day long. When we take our first bite of food for the day, we thank Mother Earth for providing us this food.
As the board chair, Rabbi Lawrence Rosenthal, points out, the Bible has been talking about extreme weather for thousands of years, with examples like Noah's Ark, plagues, and famine.
When you read the book of Psalms, it does talk about the thunder and the lightning and the wind and the storms and the sea and all that it's contained. And it really focuses on experiencing God through the environment.
So while solar panels on the roof of this church may seem like an unlikely intersection between climate, religion, and politics, it's actually shining.
What are the benefits to a congregation getting solar panels?
Well, you take yourself off the grid, so we're not continuing to burn coal. The other piece of it is to, in the long term, to lower some of the electrical costs that we have.
The Inflation Reduction Act is the most significant climate legislation Congress has ever passed, making religious institutions eligible for direct pay rebates for the first time.
117 panels generate 440 watts of energy, offsetting 26% of the electricity at this church's campus. That's something that's becoming more common thanks to recent funding from the Inflation Reduction Act.
Solar is the fastest growing renewable energy source, up nearly 8-fold in the last decade. One forecast shows the Inflation Reduction Act will lead to a 48% boost in solar deployment in the next 10 years. In the 2 years since the new rebates, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light says that it has seen a 50% increase in faith communities enrolling in their SolarWise program. When it comes to the climate crisis, these faith leaders agree the calling is clear.
We have the science, we understand why this is happening, and now this faith piece is the reverence for the world around us, the moral call to do the work that aligns with the science.
Why are you as a rabbi so passionate about these environmental issues?
If I ignore the environmental crisis that we are continuing to wade through, then I'm not taking that charge seriously. I'm not caring for other human beings.
The crossroads here between climate, religion, and politics just working so well. And historically, we don't really find that that's the case, like for topics like evolution and abortion, where that gets a little bit more complicated. Now, the White House has noticed that these religious organizations are really taking on the charge of climate action. John Podesta, senior advisor to Biden on this topic, telling CNN last week that these groups have been active voices in the climate debate. They're on the front lines of dealing with the effects of extreme weather because they are the ones that are in the disadvantaged communities. And again, it's not just one religion. We're seeing multiple religions come together and show us that we are much more similar than we might think. Paula.
Alisa Rafa, thank you.
Now, there is so much that I can take. Yeah, go ahead, give it a round of applause. I see somebody want to. There's so much I can take away from that video, and I'll probably reference it again later on, but just for brevity, I'm going to talk about just 2 points that stood out to me. Just the spiritual interconnection between ourselves and Mother Earth, and as we're celebrating Earth Day today, Earth Day this month rather, it brings to home our responsibility to take care of her the way we did in the past, the way we need to do in the future, and the way we should do for our generations to come, and what we need to do to create a sustainable future for the next generation's children's children. And like our speaker is going to probably reference, this is like the Sankofa bird, which reminds us that we must continue to move forward as we remember our past. At the same time, we must plant seeds for the generations that come after us. And who could be more befitting than to speak on this particular topic than our opening remarks from Dr. Denise Fairchild. I'm going to ask you to come up on the stage, Dr. Fairchild, as she speaks to our theme, Reclaiming Our Sun and Water. Please welcome Dr. Denise Fairchild, founder of the Ubuntu Climate Initiative. Ladybug, I'm going to have you sit right here, and I'm going to introduce you. Let me let you know about this woman right here, because I couldn't have done it without her. The Ubuntu Climate Initiative emerged from a sacred gathering of Black women, visionary healers, and artists, all deeply rooted in the fight for climate justice and reparations. At the heart of this movement is Dr. Denise Fairchild, whose vision was made possible through the transformative power of the Climate Breakthrough Award. This prestigious award, which provides $3 million over 3 years, empowered Denise to learn big and to bring forth Ubuntu, a movement grounded in ancestral wisdom and the unbreakable bonds between people, place, and planet. She is also President Emerita of the Emerald Cities Collaborative. From 2010 to 22, she served as the inaugural President and CEO of Emerald Cities, a nonprofit organization dedicated to greening cities across the U.S., building resilient local economies, and ensuring equity and inclusion in both the process and the outcomes of a green and healthy economy. In that role, she built community-led partnerships with labor, environmental, and business organizations to increase energy efficiency, clean energy, sustainable foods, and clean water with a focus on low-income and communities of colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Denise Fairchild to talk about reclaiming our sun and water.
All right, let's give it up for Starlet. I am so proud of this young sister, even though she's getting older. because I remember her as a little pup, and she's grown into an amazing woman, very dynamic, very entrepreneurial, very forward-thinking. So thank you for bringing me to the stage, bringing me back to LA to talk to my peeps. So I've been figuring out, I didn't know who the audience was and what part of this story I should tell. So being here is giving me permission to really speak from my experience and from my heart, as opposed to the specifics and the details of this new economy that's emerging. And I want to start with the fact that this is Earth Day, Earth Month, and that if I want to do anything in my short time with you is to let you know that this work of sustainable development, renewable energy, is the most important and rewarding work of our time. And that each and every one of us must be a part of this clean future, this green future, because it is about healthy planet and healthy people. You cannot be a healthy people, you cannot have healthy communities unless you have a healthy planet. It has only been recently that we have been awakened to this reality. Mother Earth has been kicking our butt. Mother Earth has been coming down with all kinds of messages about the state of our economy, the state of our environment, our water, our food, our air. It's all related to, in many ways, the source of our energy. And the energy, the fossil fuel economy that has fueled a crisis in our environment. So this is important work. It is rewarding work. And I know this from my own journey. And I have to say this, that I am an accidental environmentalist. I will have never, ever, ever called myself environmentalist when I started my career. My profession, my career is in urban planning. And so, and economic development, and community economic development. So for me, it was about, jobs and economic development. And I will talk about that. That's my starting point. But the environment to me was a distraction from economic justice and social justice. When I started my career, and I'm going to age myself here, in 1972, I was in graduate school at the University of Pennsylvania, and that's when the environmental movement had just begun. They were just creating, under the Nixon administration, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and we were talking about endangered species. And I'm a planner, and I was just coming out of an HBCU, Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was coming out of a Black Power movement. And for me, getting this environmental thing, birds and whales and trees, was a distraction from unfinished civil rights agenda, right? That we were still fighting for our rights for jobs and economic opportunities and still trying to get access to public spaces. And so I was really angry, I was really upset, and I was anti-environment. And I can tell you that even within that context, the environment kept kicking my butt. I had internships in college looking at air pollution trends. I'm like, I don't care about air pollution trends, but that was the job, right? I became a commissioner, an environmental commissioner here in Los Angeles under Tom Bradley. And I would go to those meetings, and I would hate those meetings because people, and I'm sorry if you're from the West Side, but the people from the West Side would come and talk about, we don't want street expansion because there's this bird in the tree. Okay, for me, I'm still talking about people's ability to put food on the table and to get jobs and to have economic opportunities. And here we're talking about birds. So it was like really still unsettling for me. And then, of course, then we had this huge, as a result, I think, of some of my good trouble work, environmental justice campaign to defeat the Lancer Project in South LA. But I was still about economic development. And so I kept being put in, ancestors kept putting me in positions that I did not understand why I was there and what I was doing and for what purpose. At the end of the day, my worlds came together. My environmental world and my economic world came together with a book that I read in 2003 that really speaks to, it's called The Restorative Economy. And the essence of that book is that if, in fact, we fixed up 100 years of corruption and contamination and all the things that we've screwed up in the industrial economy, there are jobs. There are economic opportunities. There are really things that can create not only healthy communities, but healthy economies, healthy community economies. And so for the first time, I understood that environment and economy was not the environment versus the economy. It was that it was all integrated and it was related, and that if we did one, we could also create the other. So that's been my work really for 20-some years now. And I've been, as Starlet said, the president and CEO of an organization that we launched to form coalitions throughout the United States. We're in 5 regions across the country, coalitions basically driving public and private investments to green our communities, to green our cities, and in the process build our communities with good paying jobs, right? And business opportunities and investment opportunities through these public and private investments. And at the end of the day, make sure that we're also addressing equity. So it's the 3 E's, right? Environment, economy, and equity. And so that's what we have been doing, and we've been working in the energy space, energy efficiency, clean energies. We've been building local sustainable food economies in the Bay Area. We've been working with water infrastructure development in the Midwest. At the end of the day, it is an amazing opportunity. And let me tell you that people of color, black folks in particular, are yet to be fully represented in this new growing clean economy. And this is what I need you to understand about the importance of this work, all right? This is important from several levels, but there is a major economic transition that we're experiencing, right? It's all grounded in the environment and the crisis, but there are huge opportunities. And you have to know that every 50 years, there's a major economic transition taking place. When we went from an agricultural economy to an industrial economy, and about 50 years later, we transitioned from an industrial economy to a service-based professional economy. From there, we transitioned to, anybody know? The green economy. I mean, not the digital economy. Y'all remember that, right? The digital era. Now we are having, and I contend to you, probably the last major economic transition we'll ever see, to the clean, green economy. And where have black folk been during these transitions? In the agricultural economy, we were slaves to that economy, right? To the industrial economy, we were either out of it or underpaid in that economy. Then you went to the service economy when all the economy moved into retail and into suburbs. Again, we were left out of that economy. And so the question becomes, in the digital economy, we still talk about the digital divide. If anything, we are just major consumers of, digital and the internet, but we're not the producers in that economy. We have not been producers in any of these economic transitions that have taken place. We cannot grow into this new economy, this clean economy, without being quarterbacks in it, without being central to the production side of this, as well as obviously the consumption side of a clean energy future. It is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we are training our young people, that we're giving them internship and fellowship opportunities, that we're obviously helping them become entrepreneurs, contractors, and then at the end of the day, to create jobs as an outcome of this effort. So the important thing to know also is that it is an opportunity that is unprecedented. I think we heard from our opening speaker about the kind of what's driving this clean economy are the policies, right? So the United States itself is trying to be 100% clean by, I think it's 2030, 2035. California, 100% by 2045. We have Title 24, sort of every way and how you build has got to be, the materials have to be green, and the processes that you use has to be green, and the product obviously has to be green. And all of that has to do with the fact that the carbon that we are emitting in the air comes from fossil fuels. It comes from gas and coal and all the things that the combustion of fossil fuels. It has changed the atmosphere, the chemistry in the atmosphere that is disrupting everything. And so what I want you to understand is that at the end of the day, it is not just the energy. We have to cap the carbon emissions critically. But we also have to understand that we've got to fix everything that those carbon emission is impacting. So the jobs are just not in renewable, right? It is also in looking at our oceans and restoring our oceans, obviously the blue economy. It is also about our food systems and how we grow food, right? Which is, I think, the second or third largest sector that is actually getting us into an unsustainable future. So it's our food, it's our water, it's our waste system. We have to really understand, if you see yourself as an environmentalist, what you will see yourself is numerous pathways to be in support of a sustainable future. So our work, I want everyone to understand that our work is not just about jobs and businesses, but our work is a mission. You have a mission. We all have a mission to build the economy of the future that is intergenerational. As our Native American brothers and sisters think about the world, they think about 7 generations. How are we living and how are we building the world today that is going to be something that we can hand off to our children and our children's children going forward? This is mission-oriented work. It is a multi-sector opportunity. There are jobs and business opportunities in all of this. But let me just say that out of my journey, while I started with hating the environmental movement, then embracing it with the 3 E's, I retired. I retired a couple of years ago, and as I thought I was retiring, I got a knock on the door. And the knock on the door came from a number of foundations that said to me, would you take $3 million to do anything you want to do something transformative in the climate space? And I'm like, no, thanks. I want to retire. I just want to not do anything. And then my son said to me, Mom, if somebody's going to give you $3 million to invest in your wildest dream, why wouldn't you take it? I said, because I'm tired, I just want to, stop for a while. So as young people would say, well, Mom, just take a gap year. So I didn't take a gap year, but I did take the $3 million. But the challenge was to figure out, well, what is my wildest dream? And that's where my Sankofa experience or vision came about. Because while I really have been working on and very good at the 3 E's, I realized the really transformative work is about the 3 C's. It's about climate, culture, and the economies. Climate, culture, and the economies. What do I mean by that? I think as Starlet has said to you, if you look at pan-indigenous cultures, if we really look at who we are, even Euro-indigeneity, we have all been earth-based people. We are all products of the land. We have all lived in the past in harmony with Mother Earth. All of this climate crisis only happened in the last 250 years. Think of the thousands of years where we have been living in peace and in harmony and reciprocity with Mother Earth. How do we reclaim that ethos, that sensibility about how we live in the world, right? So we have grown up into modernity in this notion of the Cartesian ethos of I think, therefore I am. So it's all about us and how we dominate and control Mother Earth, right? And so we will extract her oils, and we will extract her critical minerals, and we will pollute her waters, and we will overfish and overproduce and overconsume and accumulative massive waste. That's how we've been oriented, as opposed to indigenous cultures, which in the African tradition is about Ubuntu. Ubuntu, I am because you are. I am because we are. I am because I am in relationship with you and also with Mother Earth. And how do we live in reciprocity, and how do we not over extract and extend? So that's the work that I think ultimately we must stop the carbon work. We must deal with what we call Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. We have to green our grid and our fossil fuel sources. We have to green our buildings, and we have to green our transportation sources. There's no question, because we're on that climate clock and we've got to fix it. But that is not the root cause of our climate crisis. And so the next step, as we do this work, all right, this fundamental base level work, we need to start thinking about the new economy, not only in terms of being green, but how we develop economies that are not extractive. So that's what we're doing. It does require changing consciousness, and how to get, particularly all of us, out of a consumer economy, a consumer culture, right? And how do we develop a sustainable culture that is about not just profit, but abundance, and how do we live in the context of abundance? So I know I'm overextending my time, but I just want to acknowledge to you that there are probably 2 levels of work. And the first level of work is, let's teach the next generation what they already know intuitively and what they want. Our young people understand this environmental crisis, this climate crisis. They are even concerned about whether they want a future because they don't see one for themselves, right? When food prices go up, when we are losing potable water because of this crisis, when in fact, we have climate fires. And by the way, I think we should stop calling the LA fires wildfires. Call it what it is. These are climate fires, and I want people to stop calling it climate fires so we understand 100-mile-per-hour winds are not normal, and it's climate-induced. It's environmentally induced. So anyway, young people know this, so let's train them on the multiple skills and opportunities that are out there. Let's train our contractors. Most of the jobs, most of the business opportunities are obviously in the construction field. It's 2/3 of our jobs are in this climate space is construction, but there is everything from marketing and auditing and obviously the technical aspects of this, to the policy work, to the organizing work. We work with folks that are doing community energy districts, and that means organizing communities to understand how to live in a cooperative and a collective kind of way. So the full range of jobs really is from entry level to advanced STEM level careers. So let's get our folks into that, but also at the very individual level, at the community level, let's find a way to think about Ubuntu and how we live with one another and how we live in harmony with Mother Earth and how we stop shopping so much or start at least doing some smart shopping and stop over-consuming and create local producer maker economies. Anyway, I can go on forever, but I'm going to stop here, and thank you for listening.
Give it up again for one of my early mentors. Take this off. Denise Fairchild, Dr. Denise Fairchild. Now, obviously, our community expo is now open. It's been open. So make sure that you go and see our several exhibitors that are in the blue and the green. And we got sustainable development vendors and workforce development vendors, and of course, entrepreneurship. Now, as Denise alluded to, when I first got into, many of you know me from the real estate development industry. When I got out of grad school, I started working with my dad at the Bedford Group. Hi, Daddy. Some of you guys may know my father, Charles Quarles, of the Bedford Group, and I'm a 3rd-generation community builder. So I've been in real estate development and community development, and Denise was one of my early mentors for almost 30 years. And so people were just like, renewable energy, what are you doing now? What is she doing now? She had a podcast, she doing pop-up roller skate rinks. Now she's doing renewable energy. You know what happened? During quarantine, I got an EV. My car got totaled, and I got an EV, and I loved it. I thought I was the greatest thing on earth. I got my new little Audi. I didn't get no Tesla. All right, I got me an Audi, and I loved it, and that first week was bomb until I experienced range anxiety. How many people got EV and know about range anxiety? When that range anxiety hit me, this is what I was looking like when I was driving, okay? I was trying to find, I live in Inglewood, and I was trying to find an EV charger in Ladera Heights and View Park, and then there was one in Fox Hills Mall, but the line was like an hour long. And I'm like, what is going on here? That's really how I felt, right? I'm sweating, high flashes, and got nothing on range anxiety. Let me tell you that, okay? So I'm trying to find an EV in Inglewood. I'm trying to find one. My father got solar, so I was kind of introduced to it, right? Because we had solar panels, and he had one of those level 2s in the car, and then I had to be there for 24 hours just to charge my car at his house, right? So it was this experience. I had to go down this rabbit hole because what I recognized is that the real estate development community was talking about this. Not only did we not have EVs, but in terms of, we got solar panels, so we knew when the power went off over in, other areas, or when the grid was going off, and then my brother who doesn't have solar would come over to my father's house because we had power, right? It's because he had solar panels. So I kind of understood the benefit of solar, but I didn't understand the disparity and the lack of opportunities until I got an EV. And then I started going down my rabbit hole, right? Denise alluded to it. Title 24. How many of you know about Title 24? I went down this rabbit hole, and I was trying to figure out what is happening in our sector that we don't understand, that California is going 100% renewable, right? And when I tell people this, I'm just like, how do you not get in an energy that is dependent on the sun? It comes up every single day. Now, my generation, we grew up on residual income, right, where there was multi-level marketing, ACN, some type of something, right, to be real estate development, right? But how do you not monetize and get in an industry that is dependent on the sun that's coming up every single day? So if you don't know about Title 24 in the real estate development space, let me let you know. In California, Title 24 requires all new construction and commercial buildings to have solar PV systems with battery storage. The mandate applies to new construction, including newly constructed ADUs. I know we got a lot of real estate investors, right, are just now finding out about Title 24 because when they add an ADU and their project gets stalled because they didn't think about the solar requirement. They didn't know about the solar requirement, right? And significant renovations to single-family homes, condos, apartments, and commercial buildings. The changes also include requirement for new multifamily, low-rise buildings. We're multifamily developers. My family and I, so we had to understand, how do we incorporate renewable into our performance? How do we project this into our development processes? To be battery ready, so these developments have to be battery ready, meaning that they must install electrical infrastructure to support a future battery system. The solar and battery standards for select building types are designed to maximize the use of on-site solar and avoid high electricity demand, to be less reliant on gas-powered plants. And here are the 2022 Title 24 solar PV requirements per building types. And like Denise said, it's on everything, right? On low rises, on new constructions. The video talked about churches and being able to sustain getting off the grid. So a lot of us didn't pay attention until Altadena, right? I have a cousin who lives in Menifee. She was nowhere near the Altadena fires, but Southern California Edison turned off her power for 4 days. And she complained about losing $700 worth of groceries because she's on the grid. And we have to become our own internal power sources with solar panels and backup batteries. And although she moved into a new development, they demanded that she put solar panels on her house, but they didn't educate her on the benefit of having a backup battery. So there's this disparity that I recognized in the Black community specifically, that there was no education, No one was talking about career pathways. I grew up with the trades. Where am I, 1970s baby? We grew up with the trades in schools. Auto shop, right? All these type of careers. And this generation, what do they want to be? They want to be influencers, right? They want to make money, right? But these are the new six-figure jobs of the future. So we have to be able to educate our development community on how do we build smart. And as the video alluded to from CNN, the Inflation Reduction Act. That's how a lot of these churches were getting their projects financed. But with this administration, right, we have to become better advocates, not only for our laws, but also for our kids to be able to understand that these are the careers that we need to go into. So let's talk about sustainable development. I'm going to invite our panelists to come up. Building and advocating for a sustainable tomorrow, renewable energy solutions for people and commercial properties. And I'm going to invite our panelists to come up as I introduce our moderator. This is going to be a discussion for the real estate development community and for those who are trying to build for a sustainable tomorrow. And welcome over, Des. And then all the panelists for panel one, can you please come up to the stage? Hello, sir. Hello. Mr. Eddie Price, how are you doing? Eddie Price came all the way from San Diego. And then we have Mr. Odessa Riley. I'm going to introduce our moderator. Odessa Riley, with nearly 20 years of real estate experience and over 400 million in closed transaction, Odessa Riley Jr. is a sought-after professional best known for his specialty in finance and property asset management. As CEO of WLM Financial and a partner at SoCal Premier Property Management, Odessa services span across residential, commercial, and mixed-use real estate encompassing property acquisitions, financing, and leasing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest to talk about sustainable development and advocacy in a new economy.
So I know everybody, Star, thank you for having me on and having this put together. This is something that we really need to talk more about in our communities. I want to make sure everybody out there is really, really giving credit for being here today on a Saturday when you could be doing something else. You're out here learning about what we're going to be doing in the future and how this is going to affect our kids, grandkids, and their kids. So before we get up here and start talking about just the most detailed things, let's get a little bit of information about the people up here so you can know who's talking to you and all the great information they're giving out. So I'm going to start on my left with Eddie. I really just want you to give a little bit about your background, how you got started, and tell us a little bit about your company, all right?
All right, my name's Eddie Price. I am a product of East Oakland, California in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I grew up under the Black Panthers. My brother and sister were Black Panthers. I was a little bit too young. I'm not wrapped too tight. If you get to know me, you'll agree with me. Case in point, I'm happy I lotioned my legs and ankles today because I didn't know I was going to be up on a stage where you could see my ashy ankles. Aside from all that, I am in the energy business. I work for an organization called Grid Alternatives. I've been working for them for almost 15 years. And that's the longest I've ever had a job, and I like it because we do good. Did they tell you I cuss a little bit?
We're going to keep it a little clean. We got some kids in here, so let's...
I do good stuff.
There we go.
They do good stuff. But I created an organization called the San Diego Urban Sustainability Coalition because Grid didn't really do enough in educating the community to this energy thing, right, or environmental thing. And for them, it was the environment, but for my community, it's about the money and the money that can be saved and made from solar on top of your roof. And interestingly enough, I'm also I'm not a developer, but I'm developing an energy equity campus in San Diego. It's called the San Diego Energy Equity Campus at Valencia Park. I didn't come up with this idea. God came up with this idea and gave it to me because he knows I'm crazy enough to actually try to do it. I asked him for like a sustainable hot dog cart in Balboa Park or something, right? He gives me 4.5 acres and tried to make me do something with it. But it is designed to,
Talk a little bit more about that. Just tell us a little about you, and we're going to talk about your part, everything about it.
say that again?
I just want you to tell me a little about you, and then we're going to get started.
Okay, I don't follow directions too well neither. So more about me. I'm married. I have a son, 28-year-old son, and I love living life.
All right, Sherry. Over here, I known you for a while. You've been doing a lot of great things since I met you. You know, founder and CEO of Urban Design Center. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, please.
So my company is Urban Design Center, and I want to just say two things. One is Denise Fairchild, Dr. Denise Fairchild is the reason I'm here today. I was at UCLA, I looked up and saw this dynamic African-American woman on a stage, and I go, that's it, that's what I want to do with my life. So thank you, Denise. I love you so much. And she didn't, the first environmental program that she drove in our community, she mentioned the waste burn incinerator that they were building in South LA. That's where I went. She and Mandela Kaise said, go and work with concerned citizens. We're going to build affordable housing there. There's a lot more to that. But that was a waste burn incinerator that was going to contaminate our community. And it was $500 million bond issue that the city was floating. With her leadership and in partnership with concerned citizens and legal aid, they killed that bond issue and made the city lose lots of money because they didn't think to come to the community. And that started what I think environmental racism in our community. And from there, we can go on and think about how do we build a community in South LA and housing and jobs from there. But it had such a tremendous impact. We build housing at Urban Design Center. We focus on sustainable development. We're on the Stalker Street Creative Project in South LA, which will be one of the first sustainable production studios, a $250 million impact project by Forest Bay. And I had the pleasure of writing one of the first grants for this project, AltaSea. It was an EDA grant. And I can remember coming here, it didn't look anything like this. This is fantastic what's happened. But they said, we need to write a grant, we need to raise money for AltaSea. I said, okay. So we ended up writing a grant to the federal government about the blue economy. Nobody knew about it. And that told me we can come up with ideas, and we can push them forward, and we can obviously make them happen. We just have to start. And that EDA grant that I had the pleasure of writing to the Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Commerce, became their #1 grant that they've ever seen because it was so innovative. It talked about bringing forth solutions that we hadn't talked about before. So I'm really proud to be here today. I'm looking forward to being on the panel and then also talking about how do we build more sustainable housing.
All right, and we have Joe Tomlinson to your left, and he is the founder or chairman and president of the electric company. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot, Odest, and thanks, Starlet. So I've been in the renewable energy business since 2010. Prior to that, I was in some projects that had to do with recycled polymers and things of that nature. But essentially, I've always tried to be in a space where I was working towards something that had an environmental goal. And over the years, we've come to this place where this economy is finally ready to kind of burst open and really start to deploy all the assets that need to get deployed. And there's bottlenecks in that process. And so I founded Electric, and I've got a great team, including Starlet, and about 100 years of experience between us. And our goal is to find projects that are community focused and then reach into the community to deploy those projects and build the local infrastructure at the same time, because this new economy, the future of energy that Dr. Fairchild was speaking to, it requires workforce to deploy it, and then it requires new entrepreneurs and new businesses to maintain it and to keep it going over the years and decades to come. And none of that work has been done, but that work is only just starting to be done. And so there's a tremendous opportunity to work with communities, to work with community building organizations, to work with churches, houses of worship, and workforce development organizations to bring that value to a project and then kind of circle that project in the community to bring more value to the community. And those are the projects that we're looking to do as a business.
That's great. All right, so I want to get into these questions. I'm not going to make them too hard. I want to make sure that people are getting a lot of information, though. So we're going to start ladies first because my mom raised me right. Cherie, I know you've been in the affordable housing development for a while now. How are you implementing or bringing in renewable to your projects and making it work?
So as Starlet mentioned, we have new policies here in the state of California. The city of LA has their Green Build initiative. So that is helping to propel the design process, which is where it starts for new construction projects. My company, Urban Design Center, we're focused on facilities, but we launched another company in partnership with Kimberly Brown and Carlton Jenkins called Housing Impact Partners. And there what we're doing is we're not only looking at what we call the naturally occurring affordable housing. Those are our older developments, and how do we make them more sustainable? Figure out how do we bring in EV charging so that they can also participate in this opportunity to have better transportation, and also make them more sustainable from the weatherization and the windows, and making them have things like Wi-Fi that makes a project a little bit more sustainable in terms of design. So we're doing that with our older buildings, but the new buildings, we're able to imagine, we're able to take the policies that we have in the city of LA for both the Green Build Initiative and now Title 24 initiatives, and rethink how we design and make sure that there are places for people to live and where they can actually enjoy their lives in there with lighting, and as well as open space, more open space in design. All of the buildings are electric, so one of the things we're doing is partnering with other people to figure out how do we have the most efficient and quality types of electronics in buildings. You have more opportunities now to bring in washer and dryers inside the units versus having them external, which also increases the quality of life. We're looking at ways inside of our buildings to make sure that people are connected through technologies, and we can do things like have them have a sustainable workforce inside of a building because they have Wi-Fi. That's so important with so many people working at home. Mm-hmm. And then because we have no parking as part of a lot of these ordinances, we're looking at electric vehicle programs where each building can have its own maybe truck or car that can be shared with the residents so that not everybody has to have a vehicle. And we're working with Ben from Chaos Network. You see the little shuttle, the Sankofa free shuttle that goes around our community. That idea he had was brilliant. We need to connect all of our developments so that if you have seniors or young people, everybody doesn't need a car, because we have a grid we're building with transportation, but it's not sufficient to move people out. My brother David Morrison is taking over the leadership at Urban Design Center. One of the things he's done is, the Edison has a new program. It's a professional program that can work with owners to help them access all of these benefits they can have by transforming their projects into having electric vehicles. So I'm really proud of what he's doing, but we need more people, and that's why I really love what Starlet's doing. We need round tables. We need to look at projects and see how do we solve the problem, because every project's a little different. Every project has something different that it needs to solve in terms of becoming and being sustainable and renewable.
That's great. All right, I'm going to get over to you, Eddie, and I'm going to kind of piggyback on that question. You started beating me to my first question. The Energy Equity Campus you are building in San Diego, it's a bold model. What's the vision, and who is it for?
It's for communities of concern, as Dr. Fairchild was mentioned, to be involved and knowledgeable about where we're going as a country. It's being built on a plot of city, well, the city used to own it. I've since purchased it. City-owned land that's been sitting there for like 30 years because it's in the middle of a community of concern, which is a hood. Developers kind of shied away from it. We went through a process to get it from the city and had to put it out to the public, and the public really wanted it, the community wanted it, It's designed to give jobs, education, and a place for camaraderie in this industry in a community of concern. I didn't just want to build a table, and I didn't want to just build a table in a building. I wanted to own the land that the building and the table sat on. That way we can have our own conversation at the table. We're always having conversations about communities of concern outside of a community of concern, right? If I want to talk about solar in my community, I got to do it downtown. Why can't I do it in my community? If we want to talk about workforce development, why do I have to go to Mira Mesa to talk about workforce development? We need to have those conversations in our community about our community. It's been a long road. I'm not a developer. I didn't know how to do any of this. I just knew it needed to be done. The state of California loves it. The city of San Diego loves it. The community loves it. We just need to get it built.
Okay.
To take advantage of all these things that all these people are talking about.
That's amazing. All right, we're going to hop over to you, Joe.
Oh, wait a minute. One more thing. I got a booth back there if anybody's interested in investing or collaborating on this project.
Perfect. All right, Joe.
I'm sorry.
We have Cherie building affordable. We have Eddie over here putting the campus together, and your company is creating a lot of the things that make the energy work. So at the electric company, you're developing cutting-edge renewable solutions. What innovations are ready to scale to be able to put into these type of projects?
Well, there's a lot of innovations that are happening right now. We're trying to be, in terms of innovation, trying to be innovative in how we bring capital to projects and finding projects that are financeable. And then, using that finance to bring in the community elements into the project and building that local ecosystem that's lasting. That's really where I think the most opportunity lies in this new economy. Now, it's been a little bit difficult in the last little bit. There's a couple, wrenches being thrown in the gears, and you think you got a grant, for instance, and all of a sudden grants are frozen or stuff's going on, right? So, nonetheless, the momentum behind this shift is happening, and we've got a lot of solar panels can be 25 cents a watt. When I started, they were $4 a watt. I mean, it's becoming so inexpensive, and some of the forces that we're working against are entrenched forces that want to continue to be able to own and sell us the feedstock that drives our lives, right? And they don't want that to change. So we really have to work together to find these opportunities and then build these opportunities out collaboratively. And so, those are the kind of solutions that I'm talking about when we're saying we're bringing, some stuff to bear that, I don't think we'll be the only ones, because there are others that are doing it, but we're trying to do it really with a high level of expertise. And we've got a lot of gray hair people on our team that have done some stuff, right? So we know how to get some of that stuff done.
And I love that. What are you going to say, Sherry?
I would just add that one of the things that would be great when I was listening to you is we look at some of the maybe the hub projects like Stalker Street Creative. It's got to figure out how to have not only 75, 80 chargers and then the heavy duty chargers for the trucks, so that we're bringing in products and the trailers responsibly, but it can look at how does it serve the greater community? What does that strategy look like? What other projects can it link up with to have more of a sustainable hub in each community? Maybe that would be something wonderful. We can identify those throughout South LA, for instance, and then work from there to link up the knowledge and the grants and the brain trust to figure out a bigger solution. Even Wi-Fi. I mean, if you have something like this, it can serve 5 miles out.
Yeah, that's something that, first of all, I'd love to work with you on that.
Yes.
Here to help. And what you're talking about is really a shift in perspective on how to develop a project. Mm-hmm. Because typically developer will come in and do a project and then they're gone, right? But this is something where there are synapses that connect us all. It goes back to Ubuntu, right? It's like I am because of you, right? And so we have, I think I said that right, Dr. Fairchild, close enough. And, because that's how it works. That's how it's going to work going forward. And this shift is going to be, complete, right? And the only way to move that forward is to just do that as soon as possible.
All right, so one of the big things Dr. Fairchild talked about was keeping others, I will say, local community involved in these projects. So if all three of you can kind of speak on how you're keeping the community or how you're keeping these projects or the things that you're working on actually being able to benefit all the stakeholders in the communities and not just those who have the money at the top. So if you could kind of start with that, Eddie, like how are you tying in the community?
My organization, San Diego Urban Sustainability Coalition, one of our premier programs is called Climate Ambassador Program, where we teach people in the community about all of this from their front door perspective and not trying to shove it into their house and make them, buy a bunch of stuff, but actually educating them at different levels. So we have a legacy climate ambassadors, which is our senior climate ambassadors. We have the youth climate ambassadors, and we have general population climate ambassadors, right? And I was amazed at how it was well received in the community because the community wants to know these things. They want these things. They're hungry, and nobody was telling them from their front door, right? It was all, they were trying to make us consumers. Buy solar panels, buy a battery, buy this, buy that, as opposed to educating them as to what the benefit of it is to them. And by doing that, we were able to get a lot of support for the Energy Equity Campus from the community and different communities, right? Not just one community or one neighborhood, but all the communities that surround it. And it's just been the education. Okay. Our people are hungry for education. If we don't give it to them, they'll do something else.
All right, Sherry?
So one of the best things about being on the development side is that you are controlling the budget and the money, and you're in a position to make a decision as to who works on your project and who doesn't. And I know Chuck Quarles is here. I'm sure you've trained and brought on so many subcontractors and businesses over the years. That's where we have to start. That's how you begin to share. Stalker Street Creative, for instance, is going to be a $250 million project. We're reaching out and trying to make sure we connect and bring on contractors who have that opportunity to build, to learn about sustainable design. We started early so that we can begin to train, explain to people what the design concepts are. Maybe they can begin to partner with somebody to make sure that they win that bid. Make sure that they extend their knowledge base by taking a class so that they know how to install a specialized panel, a specialized system that is an Energy Star product. That type of leeway we have to give to our community so they can be a part of the solution and be part of the opportunity. David from Urban Design Center, he meets with young contractors all the time. How do we scale you? How do we help you move to the next level in terms of bidding on a project? We do that every single day. There's always an opportunity to partner somebody, JV somebody, or train somebody up, or help them bring on the staff to be able to do something. A small project I'll mention is I'm on the board of directors for the Leimert Park Village, Inc., work in Leimert Park with Mr. Robert Sacedo. And we got a grant from Metro for $300,000 to try to get people to use the train and not drive to get to Leimert Park. So we call it Take the K Train. And part of that grant, we were building kiosks on the platform. Well, Ben got a $1 million grant from the state of California to create a concept for his Sankofa-free shuttle. That shuttle goes around the community. It's electric. He had youth design and build that shuttle, and now they're creating the technology to make it automated so it goes around our community. Nice. When we got the grant, they said, oh, well, you can just buy some kiosks just from Amazon and put them on the platform. I said, we're not going to do any such thing. We're going to
Okay.
work with Ben to work with the young people to build it and design it so we have our own prototype and we can make it. Yes, it's going to cost a little bit more money,
so you got
but
the
that's
whole
investing in
community.
ourselves.
No, that's lovely. You got everybody. No. All right, Joe, a little bit about how you're involving the local.
Well, I think because we are working with workforce development programs in every community, right? That's where it all starts. So, we look for a good project and then we look for good support for that project. There's no need to reinvent that piece. We just have to come in there with a project that is executable, that benefits the community, and then we will run the project in a way that allows folks to come in and just provide services. The way the system's been set up, the way this industry has been working is to be a developer, you have to take on all of the risk. You're going to come in and do a solar project. You got to buy all those panels. You got to buy all those inverters. You got to carry all that risk through the process. We instead carry that risk on our side, and when we give folk the opportunity to come in as subcontractors with a variable cost model, okay, where they don't have to tie up all their working capital in equipment, right, and be at risk, okay, and then we provide them with the support to scaffold them and even the training, either our training or the training through the workforce development partners, to make sure that they're coming in and doing their job with some operational excellence, so that then they can grow their business, generate more free cash flow, grow their business. That's how those ecosystems are going to work well, and that's how folks are going to be able to create the thriving local ecosystem, local economy that's going to be able to grow the clean electricity in that community, right?
Nice.
And just repeat that,
All right, and I know Starlet's about to get me, so before we get off, I have a two-part question for everybody. The first one is something I learned from being on panels is, I want you to tell me or answer the one question that you wish I asked, and then quickly. And then the second one is, when the people are coming up to you about how they can get into business, what is the one thing that you would tell them they should start looking into? So the first question is, what's the question that you wish I asked? And the second one is, how can people contact you, and what part of the business should they be looking at if they're trying to do business? We'll start with you. What question should I ask you?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't understand the whole question.
Where's the money at?
Yeah. Where's the money at? Where's the money at? Where's the opportunity at? Holler at me.
All right.
Okay. I think you did a great job, so there's no other question that I think you should ask.
Okay.
But in terms of if someone comes, we need to meet every opportunity we can, have roundtables on ideas, solutions, money. How do we work together and partner together? We come together now, but let's take this to the next step. And every Friday, every Thursday, Tuesday night, I don't know when it is, but we have to do it regularly, and we have to begin to be at the table and read about where these opportunities are coming and how do we take advantage of them. I just will say one thing is, I was on the Pacific Coast Regional's Loan Committee in the early 2000s when Schwarzenegger was governor, and he put forth a $5 million grant program to give to solar energy people who had ideas to come up with new plans that California would eventually invest in. People were coming from around the world with those My Favorite Martian plans, because that's what they look like. But we gave them $1 million because they came forth with an idea. Some of those companies are probably have solar panel today, but there weren't any people of color in that room. We can't let that happen anymore. I think that's what Denise is telling us. We cannot let that happen. There's plenty of opportunity. We start with innovation, we move to how we implement it, and then how do we make sure we retain all the benefits of whatever's happening in our community.
So I guess the question would have been, where is the greatest opportunity for development? And I think it is in urban communities, the places where it's been paid the least attention to and needs it the most. And then I guess, if there was one thing, it's just like there's project opportunities are abundant. They're everywhere, right? And so they're not hard to find. Projects aren't hard to find, but good partners in those projects, real hard to find. Those are the ones that are going to go from, hey, let's do something, to then you get it done. And that's all part of the, how do we work together to support each other and build an ecosystem that understands what that means and then just kind of does it together and grows, concentric circles around one really great project. So that's it.
And I meant to say all that.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out, the audience for being here. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you, thank you. Thank you to our panelists and moderator to talk about sustainable development. Now, I'm going to continue to talk about my rabbit hole, right, after my EV. And I understood that the state of California was going 100% renewable, and they had these goals. But I'm like, but what is our city doing? Now, the state of California is doing something. What is LA County doing? And I've discovered that in 2016, there is a sustainability initiative in LA County called Our Sustainability. And if you're not familiar with this plan, LA County has 12 goals that they want to do to help transition communities of color. Now, what they do recognize that there are some disparities and that communities of color, black communities specifically, are just missing the boat. Denise alluded to it. This is the last opportunity, the last chance that we're going to be able to get on the ground floor of an emerging economy. I'm saying an economy. Now, I talked about my range anxiety, right? But when my car goes to zero, when any EV car goes to zero, there's no AAA coming to pick me up, right? At least not yet. But in the next 2 years or 3 years, someone is going to event that. The AAA of EV cars, but it just has not been. This is wide open. And so we're here gathering today to talk about what LA County, too, is doing in particular. So let me just read you a little bit about our sustainability plan. Adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 2019, our county sustainability plan outlines 12 goals that addresses the county's regional sustainability and environmental injustice objective. Quote, it outlines a bold, inclusive, and truly regional vision for the present and future generations of Los Angeles. Our county lays out what local governments and stakeholders can do to enhance the well-being of every community in the county, while reducing damage to natural environment and adapting to the changing climate, particularly those communities that have been disproportionately burdened by environmental pollution. It is organized around 12 cross-cutting goals that describe our shared vision for a sustainable Los Angeles County, and it outlines 159 actions that county departments will take to achieve that vision over the next 30 years. And you can see this. It's been on the website. It's been up and going since 2019. And some of these goals are very broad. Goal 1, right? Create resilient and healthy community environments where residents thrive in place. Goal 2, create buildings and infrastructure that support human health and resilience. And I can go on and on, but for our next panel, I want to talk about Goal 4, a prosperous LA County that provides opportunities for all residents and businesses and supports the transition to a green economy. Now, one thing I know about black folks is we are very ingenious and innovative, and we can do anything. If you show us, we can do it, right? So before there was this, before people were paying $4,000 for an electrical vehicle, there was this, okay? We were tired of pedaling a long time ago. We just didn't have any VC, any venture capitalists to help us launch our endeavors. But now that we're in this renewable economy, we have so many resources for our entrepreneurial endeavors, like Grid Alternatives. Eddie talked about Grid. If you're familiar with Grid Alternatives, they're training young adults, women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Some of our best and brightest are incarcerated in solar install in just 8 weeks and giving them opportunities to create sustainable jobs for the future. So I'm going to invite our panel up for our sustainable ventures, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Sustainable ventures building the future of the blue and green economies. And we talked a lot about what's happening in terms of the green economy, but we're going to talk about blue economy as it relates to entrepreneurship. Terry talked about AltaSea and the things that they do here and the businesses that they incubate. So I'm just going to invite our panel up, please. Our next panel, please come up. And I'm going to introduce our moderator, Dr. Robert Salcedo. Robert Salcedo has been engaged and involved with civic matters that impact youth, economic development, social justice, and literacy for over 40 years. In April 2019, he was selected to lead Community Build, one of the oldest nonprofit organizations. Community Build was founded in the wake of the Los Angeles 1992 civil unrest as an organization dedicated to rebuilding South LA and providing resources and services to the community, particularly at-risk youth, young adults, and families with children. Since arriving at Community Build, Mr. Salcedo, Dr. Salcedo, aggressively sought to increase funding sources to support an expansion of Community Build's services and community assistance programs. Please welcome Dr. Salcedo and our panelists for Sustainable Ventures. And I'm going to ask our panelists to please make sure that you talk into the mic so we don't have any of that feedback. Thank you so much.
So we have 35 minutes to get through this panel with 3 wonderful guests. And what I want to share with you is 35 minutes goes really quick, and I really want you to pay close attention because we're here to talk about the green and blue economies, and this is a conversation that haven't heard a lot about, but after today, I believe we're going to begin to have these kinds of forums on a regular basis because this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. An emerging multi-trillion-dollar industry. Somebody say multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Multi-trillion.
Now, excuse me one second, I don't need my glasses to read, so bear with me. All right, let's get started. I'm going to ask the panelists, because of the limited time we have, to talk a little bit about themselves as I ask their question and their organizations. Rather than me read off your bios, I think this is the best use of time. And we've got 3 critical questions we're going to ask today. And I have to tell you, I'm like a kid in the candy store. Community Build is a broad spectrum social service agency, but I'm kind of in my nerd spot today because I come from the energy efficiency business to the nonprofit world. And so I'm excited to be here. I also serve on DWP's LA 100 as we plan out the future for DWP. So my first question goes to our guest, Ann Carpenter. Somebody say Ann Carpenter. And I'm going to ask this first question of all of our guests. And as you answer the question, the first part of the question is, what gift of knowledge do you want to leave with the audience? And then here's the broader question. And in preparation for today, you gave me a very broad brush overview of the emerging multi-trillion-dollar blue economy. I found it to be quite fascinating. With so much ground to cover, would you take the time to define the blue economy, the various opportunities that are emerging, and the role that braid theory has played to expand the understanding of this high-growth sector?
Okay.
And I can repeat it if you need me to.
Yeah, just a simple question. So hello, everyone. My name's Ann Carpenter. I'm CEO of a company called Braid Theory. Our company is a venture advisory firm where we help entrepreneurs that are doing work in blue economy, and I'll explain, become better entrepreneurs. So we run accelerator and incubator programs to train them, to provide mentorship and advisory services, to connect them to industry opportunities and help them grow and scale. So basically, so gift of knowledge. I hope you walk away today that you understand, if you came here understanding green economy and thinking about the transition around solar and renewable energy on the land-based space, I hope you'll understand the parallels and the multitude of opportunities that we're seeing in our ocean and coastal opportunities as well. So that's kind of the broad brush, is I think you're going to see a lot of parallels. So if you think about what the current ocean economy, what that entails, it's the shipping industry, the fishing industry, the oil and gas, oil industry, refineries, etc., that to now is often quite extractive. If you really think about what the opportunities in the blue economy is, looking at through a lens of regeneration, of sustainability, and of solutions where we actually are using our ocean resources in a way that keeps them available for future generations. So it's in areas around food security. Terry talked about aquaculture. It's related to energy, but we're talking about wave and tidal energy and even energy from the Gulf Stream, which, by the way, if we could tap into the Gulf Stream off the coast of Florida, we could power every home in the U.S. Just a weird little fact there. And then it also includes things like anything related to coastal climate and looking at coastal resiliency technologies. So as we're looking at hurricanes, greater storm surges, more intense storms, what are we doing in terms of our coastal areas in technology and how to protect that? Then I would also invite you to think about even the new blue economy, which is what Dr. Richard Spinrad, who is the former head of NOAA, spoke about, and that's looking at intelligence, ocean intelligence. We know less about the ocean than we do about Mars. Just being able to get better understanding of our ocean, how it works, data collection, digital twins, sensor technologies, we get involved in a lot of that.
And that's incredible. And if you really listen closely to what Ann was saying, the net result is there's a whole lot of money to be made in a whole lot of areas. Let me go to Gunjan Soroya, and I'll start with the first part of the question is, what gift of knowledge do you want to leave with the audience, is the first part. And then Gunjan, your organization, LARTA, has clearly been at the forefront of the green and blue economy discussions and is recognized as a valuable thought leader in this regard. Please talk about how this circular economy of green and blue technologies are really a unified conversation and how you envision communities of color in particular can and should be pivoting toward this economy.
Thank you, Robert. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on the panel with such great people around me. And thank you for the opportunity to be here with you as well. LARTA Institute, I'll start with that. LARTA Institute started in 1993. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and the organization was created only for the purpose of helping the communities of LA to develop skills on entrepreneurship. LAEDC, Los Angeles Economic Development Council in '93, supported us when the defense industry was walking away from our communities here. And the idea was to take all of the science, all of the engineering knowledge and talent and convert that into startups. The learnings from there was something that was noticed by the state of California, and they funded us for 10 years, giving us tens of millions of dollars to distribute to startups as seed funding, and to mentor and guide the community members to truly become startup businesses that are successful. In 2003, National Institute of Health and another agency at the federal level said, we'd like to do something similar. Can you help us out? And we set up the program, and we've been doing this for 20 years now, helping 5 different federal agencies from Department of Energy, NOAA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, as well as NSF and others, helping over 500 entrepreneurs every year in commercializing their innovations. Now, as an organization, we started to realize that we have been doing a lot in the area of sustainability without calling it out. So we decided to do something different. We decided to also add to our portfolio, creating a local acceleration program called Community Labs Program. And that focuses on 2 things. Number 1, it's all about climate impact, developing technologies and solutions through entrepreneurship for resilience and adaptation. And number 2, it's all about health and the healthy communities itself. Now, the lens that we are looking at, it's all about diverse community. 78% of all our innovators in that program is women, women-owned businesses. More than 70% are minority-owned businesses that have created their innovations, their ideas, and we've helped them to commercialize. And to help them, what do? We actually bring in capital as an investments and investment sources. We help them to acquire that capital. We help them to acquire customers, and we help them acquire partners so that they can really become sustainable enterprises. That includes focusing on our thesis, which is around 3 big buckets. Number 1 is conservation and preservation of our natural systems. Number 2 is food, energy, and water-based technologies, innovations, and systems. And number 3 is all about healthy community. Now, to your question, Robert, about one thing that I like to give as an audience member here. Earlier this week, we are into LA Climate Week. I don't know if you're aware of that. We're just finishing up LA Climate Week. And as part of that, there was a documentary that was shared with us on Tuesday at the event that we co-hosted, How to Change the World. In that documentary, the gift is really all about resilience. And the example there was about the North Dakota pipeline. I don't know if you've heard of this. There is an indigenous community that was going to get impacted because there's going to be an oil pipeline going right through the reservation. They fought for that. But in that fight, there was a realization that the reason why somebody can trample over you is because you're not resilient, you're not economically solid. And the economic resilience that they needed to bring into their communities will drive that. And the number 1 reason for that was lack of electricity, lack of power. So they decided that they want to actually become self-reliant on their energy goals and in turn drive the economic value, create jobs, create entrepreneurship, get companies to come out there and thus build up that community. So this particular conversation today, it's all about bringing that resilience and energy independence within your communities, and I'll encourage you to do that. Back to you.
Thank you. It sounds like LARTA is doing some incredible stuff for incubation and getting folks off the ground. I hope the audience caught that they're incubating folks from soup to nuts, idea to financing to mobilizing. You know, from the last session that we just had, I made a note that it's important that we don't get lost, that the infrastructure is what's key to help design for the structure, and then from the structure will be the benefits of what happens in and around the structure, so what's in the orbit. I want to go over to Kevin Harbour, and Kevin, I would ask the same question first, and that is, what gift of knowledge do you want to leave with the audience? And then Kevin, as President and CEO of BizFed Institute, you've been at the forefront of spotlighting growth areas in various sectors to include forums on renewable energy. Would you talk a bit about the work you've done, how it impacts the sector, and based on what you've heard from Ann and Gunjan thus far, how do you see BizFed Institute further aligning with this multi-trillion-dollar industry?
Thank you, Robert. Can you all hear me? All right. First of all, as Robert said, my name is Kevin Harbour. I'm the president of BizFed Institute, and I think this forum today, this summit, is very significant. You know, when we look at things, when I grew up, my parents worked for McDonnell Douglas. That's when people were making things. And when we made things, there were opportunities for advancement. Somehow that shifted to us becoming a nation of consumers. And this is a prime opportunity. Something that Dr. Fairchild said that really stuck in my head is that we have an opportunity now. It's up to us to upskill and get ourselves prepared for this emerging economy. When you look at some of the things that are being done from the White House on down, prices aren't going to go down, they're going to go up. It seems like there are going to be some issues with workforce in terms of disinvested communities being on a level playing field and to be able to compete no longer in your neighborhood or state or even nationally, but globally, because this is truly a global economy now. So now we're positioned. You know, our ancestors already knew about a blue economy. right? They used the blue economy to survive in the most simplest terms. They also knew about green economy. They respected the lands, were able to support their families and grow and live longer lives and probably healthier lives. Well, we've come back full circle. And these are two prime economies that we need to get involved in and take advantage of. You know, at the end of the day, all the signs are around us. It's been already mentioned before in terms of the economic shocks that happen from, you know, natural climate change related disasters. Again, I'm gonna go back to you, Dr. Fairchild. It's not a wildfire, it's climate, because, you know, we're gonna have failures in our infrastructure, but those failures don't have to spread and destroy thousands of homes. Maybe up to 100, right? But thousands? How do you go to a water hydrant and there's no water? Right? Why? Right? So now is the time to proactively take steps instead of reactively trying to figure out how to come back. Proactively take steps. Some of the things that BizFed Institute does, I mean, I've been on board 5.5 years. And one of the things that we do is we convene forums on issues that affect the regional economy. And being an African American male, I make sure that no disinvested community gets left behind. And so at the end of the day, doing good, I've been able to show even large companies that doing good is good business. Rather than look at a money grab and have a society full of Teslas, how about we build smaller, more affordable, accessible cars? We build the EV infrastructure, and now, people can get in at a lower price point. The bigger companies will make not as much money at the initial hit, but how about a whole community being able to afford getting an electric vehicle, and then we build the EV infrastructure. I mean, with the digital divide, that was one part. I've been involved in that for the last 5 years. We can do the same thing. Instead of building a broadband infrastructure, we can also build up our electrical infrastructure, and that takes the pressure off the grid, right? So that when it's really hot, there are no rolling brownouts and blackouts. We have the ability to be independent and not have to worry about those things. Now, what does that mean? EV infrastructure requires workforce development. And they say, well, we don't know how to do that. Well, there are people in this audience right now that have been with me for the last 3 years, Robert being one, LARTA Institute being one. Raise your hand, Sharon. Sharon being one. Raise your hand, Pat. Raise your hand, Benny. So we all stayed on the steering committee fighting through this thing, trying to figure out how to come together and pull all of us together as one voice. Because at the end of the day, if we don't stand together and come together like in this room should be filled right now. It should be overflowing. But I'm thankful for y'all, because at the end of the day, we just got to do it. And so when we look at the emerging industries, we look at the skills necessary to work in those industries, right? We're not asking for anything. When you get the intelligence, when you test that intelligence, you get confidence. If you make it, you don't make mistakes, you learn, right? And when you apply that, then you get confidence. And so all this is going to be funded. It's so funny. Foreign companies get it. They want to come over here and make money. We need to get it. This is our window right now, especially in our community and our respected communities. And at the end of the day, if we do that, then we won't be relying upon the government to come and save us. We are who we've been waiting for. We need to go ahead and instead of, buying a Benz, right? Take that 401k and look at your children, because you're spending money and time in educating them, and get them to do a business. Sharon and I were talking about that the other day in terms of life science, right? I put all my money in my kids. And I got a daughter right now, probably they're easier to talk to and listen than boys. But, you went to UPenn, my daughter went to UPenn. biomedical engineering degree, took that to Howard, student body president, and they nurtured her more than they would at Marlboro, right, and at Penn. She went to Howard, and then she went to Meharry, right, and did her residency. And so at the end of now, she is specializing in maternal morbidity, right, in the Black community, and using laparoscopic robotic surgery for gynecological and oncology surgery. So I say this, we can take that example and apply it here, right? Because what kid doesn't like playing in the water, thinking about water? So what about aquaculture? What about solar turbines? What about all the things that we're doing? What about getting these EV infrastructure out? Right here at the port, when we dealt with our goods movement and transportation forum, the truckers were waiting in line, and they love to be able to use, electric trucks, but there's not, the range isn't there. The infrastructure isn't there. If we go ahead and accelerate that, right? While we're doing that, I got someone from WISPA sitting on my board. A lot of the oil companies see it coming, right? But we got to bring the elected officials into this discussion so that they don't pass bills that don't allow a transition and a movement away from the fuels that are destroying us to the fuel sources that will allow us to work and thrive for the next 10, 20 years and beyond.
Kevin, I want to interrupt you for just a second. But I want to make sure that I leave some room for Q&A. But before we do that, I want to go back to Ann Cooper, because Ann gave you sort of a broad brush infrastructure conversation. But I'd like her to drill down more on some of the conversations you and I had the other day around kelp and agriculture and what that looks like and what it does for the environment. And then for those of you in the audience listening, use your imaginations to figure out, ask yourself, just a matter of fact, repeat after me. How do I get paid? How do I get paid? You should be asking yourself that question, because what we don't want to do is inundate you with information that you put on the shelf and leave. I'd like to see a few of you leave here today and call Gunyon and come up with a startup idea, get that incubated, and we move forward. So Ann, if you could go ahead and address that for us.
All right, so let's start with how do I get paid? One of the things that when you look at startups that are related to ocean and climate, they have very lofty goals about the impact they're going to make. But what we do is we teach them to be sustainable, profitable businesses. Because if you can't run a good business, you're not going to create jobs, you're not going to solve any big problems around the environment, because your business isn't going to exist anymore. So let's just start there. But Robert, we were talking just about some cool examples of the kinds of things that we do and transferable skills. So a couple of examples of some companies that we're working with. There's one company that, so first of all, kelp is a very important water plant for us, for our environment. It keeps down the storm surge, it's important. And we have a lot of issues around the kelp dying off, and one of which is the sea urchin has kind of taken over, and it eats at the roots, whatever, and it destroys the climate. So we've got a company that basically what they do is they work with nonprofit and restoration groups to harvest the sea urchin. Then they use the shell of the sea urchin to make a marble. We've got another company that actually uses the sea urchin to, well, first of all, uni is a delicacy, so you basically harvest it and cultivate it and, and sell it for quite a healthy sum. But if you think about it, so EECI just graduated a group of divers and are doing advanced diving. Well, there's a huge industry now that is emerging to look at restoration of these kelp forests by removing the sea urchins and looking at harvesting the sea urchins for also food and product. So these things are like transitioning from jobs that might have been in, I don't know, underwater welding, but maybe it's for a different category. So I think one of the things that I would say about the jobs and how do we make money is look at areas, again, back to my question about, or comments about parallel, is look at skills. What skills you have, whether they are in working with your hands and any kind of engineering, hands-on, electrical skills, IT skills, those are always need, but also communication skills. One of the things Robert and I were talking about is how hard it is for people to understand all the new technologies and solutions and innovations that are available. People that can translate, scientific and engineering topics to understandable English that your grandpa or grandma can understand. Huge opportunity and skills needed.
Well, thank you. Listen, 35 minutes is a fast time to do this in. What I wanted to do is we wanted to wet your whistle and your ears enough to say, am I doing the right things by my children and grandchildren with their current academics? Did I have them enrolled appropriately or on a migration path? All of the jobs that you heard about today pay 6 figures, all of them. And this industry is emerging, it's growing rapidly, and I have room for 1 or 2 maximum questions. So if anyone wants to volunteer or be voluntoed, I'd be happy to have you ask 1 or 2 questions. I see Pat Watts in the audience, but I'm not going to put her on the spot. Only to ask her, she's my boss too, by the way, on my board of directors. But I would say, Pat, you have done an incredible job of introducing energy efficiency, and the various programs that exist, and creating a workforce in the African American community and exposing them. Moving forward, how do you envision that to expand, not only with your own company, but other companies throughout Los Angeles County, and then the U.S.?
Thank you, Robert. I don't mind being put on the spot. But it's been a journey, to say at the least. I always had a passion for developing jobs. I always felt like our community lacked jobs, and that's why we had so many problems and challenges, and that if we create jobs, create our own businesses, and teach our not only individuals who are ready to go into the workforce, but pass that down on to our children, we can build our community wealth. That's important. Generational wealth is only going to come through people taking advantage of these opportunities and understanding what that means. So yes, it means going to training programs and participating. Yes, it means stepping out there and getting involved in something you might not know a whole lot about. But if you take the time to learn about solar, if you take the time to learn about EV charging, and why that's important, why the microgrids are important, there are so many opportunities to teach, train, and develop individuals in our community. So does that answer your question?
Well, yes, and the reason I had Pat stand really is because Pat is one of my heroes. She's made a huge difference in this space, and I'd just like you all to give her roses and by giving her a round of applause. I want to leave room for one more question.
Can I just, while you're
yes,
looking,
please, go ahead.
You made a really strong comment there that I didn't want to get buried, is to create your own company and create your own jobs. When I started Braid Theory about 9 years ago, I was told by a well-respected colleague of mine, "And you're unemployable." So I just started my own company.
There you go.
Sometimes we just got to do that.
So, yes, question right here in the front, and then I'm going to close it out.
Hello, my name is Dr. Summer DeRuiter. My company is DeRuiter R&D. I just wanted to ask, in the face of what we're seeing from the federal government, as a grant writer, it can be a little demoralizing right now. And what I was wondering is there an effort to create a more connected community amongst all of us who really want to see what I call the Star Trek future. You know, I see two possible futures that are almost at war right now. The Star Trek future, where we use technology to come back in balance with the community. And then there's the Mad Max future, which is we just use everything up, decimate everything, and then we're clawing for the last remnants. Is there an effort in place to bring all of these well-meaning organizations, the investors with the money, the community with the ideas, and the people? I really feel like this is a moment for all of us to bind this together.
Yes.
Do you guys know of anybody that's trying to pull it all together?
Let me start the answer this way. There's not a one and done. This is not a one and done, and there's not a simple solution to that, but there is a gathering point. And I'm going to ask Gunjan to speak to that question because he has a really good answer.
Nice to see you again, Summer. Thank you for that question. So there are several entities in our region, in the region of LA and surrounding counties, that are trying to bring it all together. State of California is certainly contributing to that. And there are other national organizations, from corporates to foundations, that are exploring ways in which they can contribute to this ecosystem. But the beauty of it is it doesn't stop there. What we get to see, and this is happening real time in the last 3 weeks alone, internationally, all countries from Europe, for example, that are big into sustainability, that are big into climate tech, are coming down to California saying, I want to bring my companies out here. Can you help me set that up? Can you actually do technology transfer so that I can create manufacturing operations out here, because California is going to be consuming those clean tech, those climate impact, resilience and adaptation technology or innovation solutions to be deployed out here. And they see California as a state and LA as a region, as the region which can make it happen. So there are numerous organizations. We are a part of those groups. State of California has put together what they call as the California Jobs First funding. That is $128 million to be given for implementation of innovations across various innovation cluster areas, including sustainability as well. And that is bringing together huge number of companies to collaborate, organizations, nonprofits, cities, foundations, etc., to make it happen. Hopefully that answers that question.
Ann?
I just want to say, hang out with us here at AltaSea. We have a microcosm of that right here. This is what we do day in and day out. I'm a tenant here at AltaSea. Part of my give back is to bring in interns, to work with the researchers, to work with industry, to bring the startups. We are building these kinds. So while you look at the large efforts, and I'm involved in many international ones, it's the boots on the ground work that we're all doing, like right here today. Keep staying connected, because this is working, this AltaSea community.
Excellent. Sharon, I was told that I have room for one question bulleted and one quick answer. Go ahead. Who has the microphone for Sharon?
I'm Sharon Evans, and thank you so much, Starlet. So I am on the steering committee for California Jobs First, but I wanted to really uplift the work that we're seeing done and bring forth a connected call to action. So LARTA is doing some amazing work in terms of accelerating and incubating, and the commercialization work is fantastic. But what we have learned, I serve as co-chair of transportation for BizFed Los Angeles, and what we learned is what really seems to drive is an intersection, and we really capitalize that in LA called P3s. Public-private partnerships have a way of attracting local and international capital, stimulating business opportunity. I worked on the People Mover, I wrote their diversity plan, right? But it also mandates community benefits agreements so that our workforce, our communities, our our minority and small businesses have a contracted role in that investment ecosystem. So I want to uplift and encourage the continuation and the bringing together. And as you guys are negotiating on LARTA, please make sure our community benefits agreements are included and that a part of that revenue flows through so that that these international firms don't just pillage our communities, but add to it.
Sharon, I want to thank you for that. And Sharon is really someone who fights for everyone's voice to be heard. And I would encourage every one of you to gather around her after this session and pick her brain. She's got a lot to say. But listen, let's give our panel a round of applause. Thank you all. I know this was fast. And I want to say that, you know, some other sectors look at us as if we're a bunch of weirdos or what have you, but we're here. And I thought about this when I was sitting here earlier. This is the only sector that unites all cultures because we're all impacted. And whether what they think about us or not, well, let's just say they're not like us. I said they're not like us.
You mess up your cue. It's all good, DJ. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. So give our panelists another round of applause. Thank you so much, Dr. Salcedo, for trying to calm the audience down. And before you leave, please make sure that you visit all of our exhibitors and all of our food vendors. We got some soul food, we got some pizza out there. So please, and our last and final panel is going to be on workforce development. And I want to introduce you to my cousin Lance. How are you doing, sweetie? I see you in the front row. Let me tell you about Lance. And Lance may be like a lot of your kids who don't want to go to college. Right? I was that generation where we had to be doctors and, oh, my phone's going off. Doctors and lawyers and all that. But these kids, they don't necessarily want to go to college. So Lance just graduated from high school last year. And after he graduated, he went to a program up in the Bay to get certified as a line worker. And after he completed that program, he went to the Grid Alternatives. Again, Grid Alternatives is training our youth and formerly incarcerated in solar installation. So at 17, what was it, 18, 17, 16? 18, he went up north. He went to this program that was 15 weeks for about $32,000, okay? So not only did he get certified as a lineman and in solar, in 2 years, I don't know what his salary is gonna look like. When I was 2 years, I was acquiring debt at UCLA. These kids today are going into six-figure salaries. And it's very simple. All you need to have, 18 years old, high school diploma, you need a driver's license. What else? And you have to be able to get a Class A license. A lot of these kids can do that. And they're coming out with these careers in a short amount of time because they're getting skills in an economy that is needed today. And say, for instance, your kids don't want to be on a roof. You said, my baby don't want to be on a roof. You don't want to do that. He can go to the ECCI and learn how to be a scuba diver and have another career. How long is that program, Barker, for your kids? 9 weeks. Now, I wasn't a water baby, okay? I knew a long time ago my hair and water didn't mix. So I wasn't a water baby, okay? But some of these kids, they want to go to SeaWorld every day, but they don't know that that could be a career. AltaSea has a program here, Ocean Career Pathways, or this BCAP, right? BCAP is a new initiative. Blue Economy and Climate Action Pathway aims to meet the emerging employment demands in ocean-related labor markets in Los Angeles that are aligned with California state climate action and environmental justice priorities. There's happening at Santa Monica College, LA Harbor College, where we're going to have Sandra come here and talk about it, or even Lacey. Lacey has a program, Building Energy Management. That's a new career. That might be leading into the C-suite. Right? So this economy this new emerging economy hits all sectors, whether you want to be in the trades whether you want to use your college degree and transition into a C-suite type opportunity. And say, for instance, you don't want to go up north and get in the Northwest Lineman program like Lance did. Southern California Edison has a line worker scholarship program. The application's open right now. So you may have some youth who want to be able to get up in these posts, because when they build and rebuild those homes in Altadena, who's going to be that workforce? I already told you, by law, they have to put solar panels on those houses in Altadena and Pasadena. Who's going to be that workforce? Are we training our generation to be that workforce today? So we're going to have our last and final conversation on workforce development and career pathways. I'm going to invite our panelists to please come up to the stage. And I'm going to introduce our moderator to discuss powering the future training and career pathways in clean energy, my good friend Colleen Menard of AltaSea. How you doing, lady? Colleen Menard serves as the Director, Green Jobs Regional Partnership at the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. She is honored to convene regional leaders in the workforce development ecosystem and green economy to ensure historically underrepresented communities have access to high-road green jobs in Los Angeles County. In this role, she leans on 15 years plus experience as an informal educator, facilitator, and leadership development professional. She looks forward to publishing her partnership's Green Jobs 2028 roadmap this year, which will uplift strategies and actions that the Los Angeles County workforce development ecosystem can implement to increase access to high-road green jobs for underrepresented communities in the transportation electrification sector. Please welcome Colleen Menard, our moderator, and our panelists for our final panel for today, Powering the Future Training and Career Pathways in Clean Energy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for sticking around for this last panel, but this is the most important panel because we're talking about jobs, right? We've heard it mentioned by all panelists, all speakers here. So where are those good quality jobs that pay life-sustaining wages? So we're gonna talk about that today with our panel. So as Star mentioned, my name is Colleen Menard, and I'm the Director of the Green Jobs Regional Partnership at the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. First and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about AltaSea. Our incubator is really there to make sure that everyone has access to the green economy. So we provide tools, we provide access to reduce barriers so that our small clean tech businesses can thrive and grow. We also break down those barriers for the adoption of this technology or this service so that there's access in the market. And then we also do workforce development. So my job really works with our workforce development team. So if you have a chance, they're back there at a booth to learn about the 4 workforce development programs that we run a year. These are free, paid trainings, right? So a lot of the times you will find a free training program, but who pays you to go through that program? We do. So make sure you check those out. Also, what we're really focused on in our workforce development is making sure that there is that pathway to training, securing certifications. These are industry recognized certifications, all the way to getting a paid internship and then placement. That's what we're concerned about. And that's what all 4 of our panelists here are concerned about. So I'm gonna introduce them, but I want you to start rating those questions because we are gonna go to the audience as well after this. So I have a few questions that I'll ask them, and then we're gonna go to you. So pay attention and look out for those. Okay. So first, I'm gonna introduce, we have Jade Clemens. So she is the Director of Economic and Workforce Development at AltaSea. She's actually filling in for Shamika Dixon from GRID today, so thank you for filling in for Shamika. We also have David A. Ford. He is the Senior Government Relations Manager for Southern California Edison, but he is also the Western Regional Director for the Association of Blacks in Energy. Then we have, next is Barbara Stanton, Executive Director of the Entrepreneur Education Center, as well as, and last but not least, we also have Sandra Sanchez. She's the former Dean of Workforce and Economic Development at the Los Angeles Harbor College, but she is also the newly appointed Senior Advisor at the California Community College Chancellor's Office. So thank you for joining us, panelists. Thank you. So David, I want to start with you. So in our last panel, it was mentioned that in the blue and green economy, there are a lot of six-figure jobs, but at Southern California Edison, there are some middle skill jobs, right? Those middle skill jobs that do not require, let's say, a degree, but require some training and a high school diploma, right? So these are middle skill good jobs. Can you tell us about one of those middle skill jobs, line worker, that actually Star just mentioned? So could you speak a little bit about the line worker and the scholarship opportunity that is available at Southern California Edison?
Well, thank you. Can everybody hear us?
Okay.
Even in the back? Way in the back? Can y'all hear us?
Wave if you can hear us in the back.
Okay, great. So, first of all, I want to thank Ms. Qualls for inviting me here. I really have never been down here to this site, and it's fascinating to see, and so many people here and vendors that are in the environmental, clean energy business. Let's give them all a hand. So what I extremely excited about, and this is my 28th year working at Southern California Edison. I met Pat Watts when Pat, you've just been a mentor to so many of us. And she was leaving the company when I was coming on board to do the same job that she did when she left. But as she was leaving, we had multiple conversations about energy efficiency and how we could help our community reduce energy costs. And 28 years later, she has a huge company that's in multi-states and got folks working in the green job industry. And that's from an entrepreneurial standpoint. You mentioned about and I think Ms. Qualls mentioned about the line worker scholarship program, and I was talking to her nephew, Lance, a while ago about, he actually did apply for one of those positions that we're, about 4 years ago, right after Floyd had gotten killed, there was a lot of social unrest in the company. And DEI was just becoming such a table topic in almost every corporate board of what they're going to do and how they're going to address DEI issues. Well, some of us got creative and lucky enough to get the attention of corporate America, and we came up with this line worker scholarship program at Edison. Carolyn Sims, who is not here, and I think Barbara Taylor, who is back there at the Edison table, she was part of that discussion. The objective was to identify opportunities for African Americans to become part of our skilled craft crew, and that's, climbing poles, running bucket trucks, stringing conductor wire and transformer installations, in which we have now say are all green jobs, because the company is going fast forward toward a total green grid. The Line Worker Scholarship Program initially was to identify the lack of African Americans in the skilled craft area. So we joint partnership with LA Trade Tech and the Brotherhood Crusade. And the Brotherhood Crusade become the fiscal arm to support the scholarship recipients. And the first two cohorts were all black, 2 African American females, and the other 22 were all men. The success rate of that program is about 90% of those that were part of the first 2 cohorts are working at the company and making really good money. And they didn't have a college degree. They're skilled craft. They're making sure that we provide clean and renewable, affordable electricity in a safe way. it really gave me pride to be part of that initiative because it changed the life of those individuals. Now, you know, their salaries are ranging anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 a year with overtime, and those types of opportunities exist. Somewhere, somebody in LA is applying for these positions that we're going to offer to go through training again. There's other jobs. There's planning positions that don't require a college degree, but then there's many jobs that we have out of our 13,000 employees that have a variation of skill sets and backgrounds and experience that make the company to what it is today. I'm really glad that I was part of that process, but more importantly, I'm glad that somebody like Pat Watts took time to see this young boy coming from Kentucky and listen to his appeal about getting a job in the utility industry and made that possible for me today.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, please, clap it up. And I just want to highlight something you said that I think is very important, right? You talked about the line worker scholarship and those positions which are key to what Southern California Edison does. But as you said, all your jobs are green jobs, right? And eventually every job we're hoping is going to be a green job or a blue job in this economy. But you did mention that you are collaborating with LATTC and kind of want to transition then to Sandra Sanchez because representing LA Harbor College here. But you know, what are some of those high demand jobs that LA Harbor College, you know, in the blue and green economy is training for today?
So thank you, Colleen, and thank you for having me here today. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here and staying till the bitter end. Thank you for toughing it out with us, but thank you for that question. I want to say that at the community colleges, if you're not familiar with our system, some of the things that we are working on and have been working on for many years is career education programs that help individuals find living wage jobs, but also to upskill and reskill as needed. And some of the jobs that we're looking at specifically within the blue economy and the green economy are, you know, a lot of it is around the port. A lot of it has to do with, as was mentioned earlier, with electrifying our communities to minimize the environmental impact to our communities, but it's also around sustainable construction, sustainable design. I think that today you've heard from a variety of individuals who are actively engaged in those careers. And those are the same careers that you will hear about and learn about at our community colleges. One that was mentioned in particular earlier was our Blue Economy Climate Actions Pathways. And if you're not familiar with community colleges and the regional work that we do, there are currently 14 community colleges in Los Angeles who are part of the Blue Economy Climate Actions Pathway. And what it does, and two are here, our colleagues at West LA, shout out to them, as well as, and if you're not familiar with the California Climate Center, they are part of our BCAP project. And of course, Harbor College. Harbor College is leading the efforts around hydrogen and hydrogen safety for the implementation around the port and the port communities. But these technologies, as was mentioned in the prior panel, are all emerging, right? So one of the things that we're looking at is how do we take existing workforce and training for what's happening now, and then as these new economies are coming in, as these new businesses are being built, how are we preparing our students for that future economy, and how are we helping individuals upskill and reskill as they're looking at transitioning? And if you're not familiar with our system, within the California Community Colleges, we offer non-credit, credit, apprenticeship programs, associate degrees, and bachelor's degrees. And if you didn't know that, now you know. And they are at every one of our community colleges in LA County. And in LA County, there are 19 community colleges. And if you're not familiar with them, there is one in your community. There are several, obviously, in the various communities that are represented here today. But I wanted you to know that you can reach out to them If you're thinking about short-term training, or getting a degree, that is what how our programs are designed. One of the things that we are required to do at community colleges is make sure that our programs are current and relevant. And so what that means is we are required to partner with business and industry when we develop programs. So you will see that the BCAP project in particular is a partnership with AltaSea, with our colleagues like AltaSea, as well as many other nonprofits that we are working with, as well as the businesses and the industry partners that are actually hiring the workers. And so when we think about how we develop the future workforce for this blue economy, we always keep in mind the needs of the industries that will be hiring that workforce. And so I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does, and more. And I think it's good to highlight the fact that, when you're creating these programs, you're not just creating them out of thin air, right? You are making sure very intentionally that there are a connection to the businesses that are actually going to be hiring these folks after they do the training. And I also just want to highlight the fact that, I'll say personally, when I was thinking of community colleges growing up, I was like, oh, that's where you get your AA degree, and then you move on to another four-year school, right? But that's not just what our community colleges do, right? Like you said, the upskilling, which I think is a huge piece, is if you're already in an industry and you have certain skills and maybe you just need to add another one on to do that transition and make that transition into the green economy, that's where you can go, is the community colleges, right? To get a certification. Sometimes some of these are non-credit courses. Some are not that much money. Some are free, right?
Right. We're at $46 a unit for our credit programs, but many of our programs that we create for upskilling are in what we call non-credit, which means they're free. They're absolutely free. You are able to get industry certifications that help you attain that next level opportunity. And, and then of course we also offer apprenticeships, and apprenticeships are paid. So those make sure that you are working. They're earn and learn models, as we like to call them. So while you're going to school, you're actually earning and getting paid by employer. So, and there's so much more. But one of the things I will say is that if you are interested in any of these types of programs or learning more about it, I would encourage you to reach out to the institutions that are here, but also, again, there are 19 community colleges in LA County. There's one in your community. Reach out to them, ask about career education programs, and if they look at you funny, say, I want to talk to your workforce development person, because every one of our campuses has one of those.
Thank you for that. Now I want to move on to Jade. Sorry, thank you for joining at the last minute. And
my pleasure.
I'm not going to throw you a hardball here. I'm going to lob you a question. Can you talk a little bit about, since you are the Director of Economic and Workforce Development, can you talk a little bit about the workforce programs that you have here that are available to the community at AltaSea?
Absolutely. And so, in case anyone didn't hear earlier, AltaSea, we are a blue economy hub. We manage this campus that you're sitting on, over 200,000 square feet of warehouse space, that AltaSea then actually rents out and makes available to educators, researchers, and businesses working in the blue economy. And so particularly when we're talking about clean energy, which we are today, there are so many different ways that the oceans can help us harness and provide clean energy, as well as simply the transition for so many blue economy industries, the ports, marine vessels, et cetera, right? They are all going to have to go through this clean energy transition, and there are so many different jobs that are going to come online in this space. And what AltaSea endeavors to do with our workforce development programming is make sure that any young person who wants to find their way into the blue economy has an accessible pathway to do that, right? Not all jobs need a 4-year degree. Not all jobs need you to get a PhD. Some jobs can simply be learned through hands-on training, right? Just a solid internship can get you the training you need to get started in an industry. And or there are these certificate programs, again, that we've supported Sandra and her colleagues at local community colleges in developing. But then what AltaSea does, I think, most well is help place people in the internships that can help them get to that career in the blue economy. So our internship programs run year-round. We have programs in spring, summer, and fall. If there are any undergrads in the audience or you know any undergrads still looking for a summer internship, our applications close next week, so there is still time to get your application in. And again, we want anyone who wants to get into the blue economy to find a way. So our internships actually range from general administrative, janitorial even, you can work with our facilities team, right, all the way up to getting to work alongside some of world-class engineers that are developing cutting-edge technologies to restore marine ecosystems. So there really are a breadth of jobs available here at AltaSea because we are this hub, and we don't only place interns with AltaSea. Actually, you could come work with me if you want. I'm a lawyer economist. If you like policy, if you like to read boring legislative documentation, come work with me. If you're more inclined to, again, getting to work hands-on with world-class engineers from USC, UCLA, we have those internships available as well, and that's really the beauty of what AltaSea is able to provide. We bring together all of these leaders in the blue economy space under one roof and are able to bring in paid interns with everyone working under this roof. Again, spring, summer, fall. If you haven't found a summer internship yet, please check us out.
Yeah, great. And internships are just one way that you can, they're part of work-based learning opportunities, right? That you can kind of dip your toe into a new career or something that you maybe don't know a ton about, but want to learn more and maybe gain a skill. But there are a lot of other ways that you can get to know the green economy. And a lot of it is also about awareness, right? So I want to switch a little bit. Just getting awareness about the blue and green economy, I feel like, is that first step, right? Before you even get into the workforce training, right? A lot of us don't know what are blue jobs, what are green jobs, right? So where do we start? So I want to switch to Ms. Barbara Stanton, because you've been working for several years with AltaSea to bring people in, right, from Watts to learn about the blue economy. For some of the young people in the audience, which I know there are not a ton right now, but hopefully some of them are listening, that don't know much about the blue and green economy, but are looking to enter the blue and green economy, what are some of those possibilities, and how have you brought those possibilities to the youth of Watts?
Okay, I'm glad to be the last one because now I'm relaxed and try to cut me off.
No, never.
I want to create a picture of when I began entrepreneurial education and trying to help the community with it. I was born and raised in Watts, and Watts is really just a 3-mile radius of an area. When I was there, I went through the first rebellion, and I went through the second one. The first one was devastating to young people like me. I was in high school, and so to see a tank coming down your street that's higher than the buildings with a guy on top of it with a rifle wasn't exactly a model way of trying to say what was going on in our community. Anyway, after it kind of dulled down, 37 people were dead, and our communities were left with no stores, so it was really a matter of rebuilding. No matter how much the people there tried to rebuild, there was always this stigma of, no, I'm not going over there, because the people that were there had the courage to stand up for themselves for what they thought was right at that time. Whether it was an effective way, rebellion, I don't know. But what I do know was that it put a different kind of fiber in everyone that lived there to do better than, and be better than. So after various careers, and I worked at TRW, a classified librarian, several banks. I had 3 daughters, and it was time for me to find a job where I could really benefit. So I went to USC, and I went to work in the School of Business. When I first got there, I worked for a wonderful guy. His name was Ed Lawler. He was an author, organizational behavior. That's where after work I could transcribe his books and make extra money for me. And as I was doing that, that was going into my brain. But after about a year of that, my eyes got tunnel vision and I couldn't see the numbers. So I went to the School of Business and I said, look, I gotta go. They said, Barbara, just interview with one person. Well, I didn't know at that time that the guy that they wanted me to interview with, that the lady that worked for him had been laid off because and filed a lawsuit against him for discrimination. So really, they needed another black woman to go and be there. I was that one, right? So I didn't really know what entrepreneurship really was, and how did that equate to something in my community. But anyway, I was there for 9 years. Dr. Buskirk said to me when I first went there, one thing about it, if you don't make it with me, they picked you, I didn't pick you. And I said, that's true. It was the same way with me. I didn't pick you either, they picked you. So I said, I'm gonna give this a chance and we're gonna try it. We became famously working together, but after about 2 years, I went to him and I said, look, we don't have any minority students. So I cannot keep working like this when all of my people are not here. So let me find a way, let me go out and recruit. And I went to recruitment and they said, no, we don't need you to help us recruit. I said, okay. So at that time, Tom Bradley was in as mayor. I went to him and I said, I need a partner. He came, I raised the money, so we had free seminars at USC, entrepreneurship. That was in 1980. And when we had those seminars, it filled Boulevard Auditorium. So no one can tell me that we are not interested in small business. I know better. So after we continued on raising money and, trying to, again, bring in this diversity impact for the community, it became so large that Dr. Buskirk said, Barbara, I'm going to have to leave. It's becoming a different program. Because basically, schools are fundraisers. They're all the time. So they said, well, if you can raise $350,000, we can raise millions. Look how much money we'll have. And then they said, and then we could charge each person $1,000 a seminar. Look, we'll really have a lot of money. They didn't get it. I wasn't doing it for the money. So anyway, Dr. Buskirk and I left together and formed the Entrepreneur Educational Center. The mission, multicultural people, help them go into business. We filled all the auditoriums wherever we went. Now we have a location on Redondo Beach Boulevard, and we're right at the 110 entrance of the freeway. So as we continued on with this, I could see that the multicultural community was a major target for small business. And when Dr. Buskirk came out there and said, look at all these people, there's 1.3 million people within a 5-mile radius, and 4 public housing developments and 22 schools. So here I was in an area trying to make an impact in business. And what did we need? We needed retail of any type. With 1 million people, they need somewhere to go and buy their shirts and whatnot. Okay, so now this was in 1980. I'm moving on up. We left the school in 89. We brought it out. When that was going on, entrepreneurship was in the high schools. As soon as I started leaving, I could see that the schools were they had issues, did they have the right teachers or whatever it was. Now, today, in LA Unified, there are no business classes in Watts or any other part of the 2nd District. That is when we got initially in the trouble that we're in, because nobody is coming to set all of what we need in the community in front of us. We have to get it. We have to get our own. So our children now are being raised where there's no cursive, there's no business, right? They're struggling, there's no arts. So thinking of it being in the high schools 10 years before and then totally out of them, we have to find a mechanism to get it back in the schools. So what we do at EECI, we have a young adult program. It's called Miracle, Miracles Entrepreneur Program. That was a young lady, 15. She was shot and killed in the food line with her mom in Watts. But she worked at the park every day. That's all she wanted, was to work at the park. So that's 16 to 26. We have 13 students graduating next week. When they came into us, they were not speaking. Their heads were down. They didn't know what they wanted. Thankfully, something happens, because after a couple of weeks, they transform, and now we have students who are ready to graduate. And the difference in what we do is that once they do their business plan work and they get that small business as good as they can get it, and we feel that they know what they're doing, we start the company. That's the difference in what we do. So we take people through a business plan course. When they finish it, if we believe that they understand all of it, we start that company. That then gives us a federal credit. Why other people don't do it, I don't know. But we have grown from the initial Miracles program. We have an adult program. That starts next week. These are 9-week courses. Basically, we go into all the communities around us. We recruit our own students and sign them up, bring them in, interview them, and we choose the most likely to succeed. This is the same program that Dr. Buskirk and I did at USC. But now I'm dealing with my own people in my own neighborhood, so it's a little better for me. So you go through, you get selected. Now you go through your business plan course. So we have 2 management instructors, 2 marketing instructors, 2 finance instructors. And by the time you're done, if your idea wasn't clear in the beginning, it's clear then, because you have deliverables. And if you don't do them, we're not starting the company. Okay, but people come in us with dreams, all different kind of dreams. My job is not to change their dream. My job is to help them feel the dream that they have, make it a reality. That's what people want. They only want help in deciding what they're going to do. The banks have put us in a situation where, okay, well, that's not going to make much money. So yes, the money continues to be in our black and brown communities. It's the money, because the ideas are there, the people are there, they want to work hard, but we need a huge pot of money. I don't mean just a little bit. Was that for me to go? Am I done? Oh, I didn't know what that was. So we need a huge pot of money. When I was getting ready to retire a couple of years ago, Senator Stephen Bradford, I saw him at my mom's house. She had made gumbo. And he said to me, Barbara, where's your money? Well, I'm always raising money, but I had been through a situation where the city and the county colluded. I was building a movie theater in Watts. And after 15 years of hard work, they decided they wanted the land, so they took the land, so it unraveled. So here we go. But I was not done. So the senator said, Barbara, you got 2 days. 2 days to get a document in? But I got it in, and he gave us that $5.2 million. So now when I get ready to do my programs, it's not the money that I don't have. I want the people that want to do it. And I want a big pot of money in case the bank won't lend them the money. That's what we're working on. As we developed, we met Jenny. Oh my God, Jenny came to my office, she and Tim McCosker, and they were working on BBB, Build Back Better. They said, Barbara, will you work with us? And I said, maybe. What are you doing, you know? So that was the first person from San Pedro or Wilmington or anywhere the other side of the 15th, as Tim McCosker says, Watts is 1.5, out here is 1.5. But nobody ever said to me, come on down here and let's get these jobs. Or come on over here and we'll help you start your business. No, we have to create that path ourselves. But Jenny opened the door, right? And once she opened the door, I got on board with her and we did a Build Back Better. We didn't make that particular one for different reasons, but her document was damn good. From that point, I said, we have to work together from now on. Black and brown people, all of us get together. Let's raise our own money. Let's do our own thing. That's what we do. So now we have the young adult program, the adult program. We're going to the Grand Canyon next week. So we're taking our children on environmental trips. Why? Because Jenny and them said to us, we have to introduce this to our youth. I'm in agreement. I'm an environmentalist. I've been saving cans since I was a little girl. So I know that it works, okay? But they have to be in another environment first. They have to see what it is. What is the desert? You know, they've never been there. So when we take them there, I tell you they come back transformed, they are transformed. Now they're ready to go to college. But if it hadn't been for us, they wouldn't take business, right? They wouldn't even think of taking business. They're all trying to be social workers. Why? To help our community. We have to encourage people to do what they want to do in life, okay? So the young people, I'm working on them every day. But when I came to Jenny, I kept thinking, we got to do a blue program out there and watch. That's the only way we got to do a blue program. So my colleague said, what about diving? I said, yeah, what about diving? So I kind of started looking into it, but I knew the chief of the fire department. He got me 2 certified dive masters, right? And when I'm telling you, I was in shock when our first class of 10 graduated and became divers. I am serious. They were so proud. Okay, that was...
Ms. Barber, sorry, I'm going to have to cut you out just a little bit.
Oh,
I know you're just finally starting to talk about the blue economy. But that's amazing. I just want to say that's amazing.
All right. Okay, so anyway, I'm almost through with my programs.
Okay.
Okay, so that's diving. We have 29 certified divers. Some of them are open water. The majority of them have moved on to rescue. So that's brown and black divers coming out of the community, and it's reality. There's 3 years of them. We have rescue divers who go down and explore and rescue things. That's invaluable. If you have young people, have them come and get in the diving program if they can swim, because it's an amazing project, a transformation. And when we went to Catalina, and I had 20 black and brown divers in the water, and everyone else had groups of 3 around us, that was powerful. That let me know we can do anything we want to do.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so you saved me to the end, but I remember I said I was going to do this. Now, I want to share that. I want to share this last piece. I'm going to share this last piece with you. We're starting our adult program next week. If any of you want to be in the adult program, everything is free, and we start the company. But we're having our Cerritos Performing Arts Center in June. Morris Day and the Time, Howard Hewitt, and Miss Chalet. That's our fundraiser. So if y'all don't have anything, keep in touch with us if you can, okay? Because we want you to go into business, and we want you to party with us in Cerritos. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kidd. That is a very fascinating journey. Thank you for sharing that and how it all ties into the blue economy. But just one more question, because we're short on time for everyone. Real quick, kind of rapid fire. What are those skill sets that people need in the green and blue economy, right? So you might have some of these already. You might need to get some. So this is just to get you all starting to think on, what do you need? So I'll just you can go quickly. We'll start with Jade.
Sure. Well, I'll maybe say, it might not be too helpful, but any job can be a clean energy, not necessarily clean energy, but a sustainable job, right? And when we're talking about clean energy, new startups that are coming online, perhaps maybe, let's say they're developing a wave energy device, they still need a marketing team, right? They still need an office administrator. So I just really want to drive that point home, that really whatever career you might be considering and you want to make sure it's green or it's blue, be creative, because those jobs are there. And I would say the skill you really need the most, and I cannot drive this point home enough, is to be deeply committed, right? I think to really understand why the clean energy transition is important, right? We're not doing this for fun. We're not doing it just to make money. We're doing it because, right, we care about the future generations, and that's going to really help you get through the hurdles and the adversity that you're inevitably going to face, particularly in a nascent industry. It's so easy to give up and say, oh, well, you know, I just want to go work for Google because the job is secure, the pay is good, and so I'm just going to fall out of this work. And so I would say cultivate your love, your why you want to work in a sustainable industry.
I love that. Your why.
I'll be real quick. STEM and STEAM. Try to really double down on your math skills, your communication skills, and your writing skills. You can learn all the math, but you got to learn how to communicate. AI is a great tool, but you don't let AI talk for you. You got
just a tool.
You got to prepare yourself and really use those as resources. Mentorships is also important. Having someone to mentor you. I'm going to shut up because we're just about out of time. So.
Thank you, thank you. Skill sets.
You need finance, accounting, and marketing to do a good business plan. So if you could find a free course in accounting somewhere, take it. You don't have anything to lose. Marketing, start looking at where are the ads at, what makes sense for your company. Start thinking about your company as already existing and walking into it and saying, wow, I love this company. That's what I think the skill sets for business are.
Thank you. And lastly?
And I just want to echo what everyone up here said, is that the communication skills, the math skills, the marketing skills, whatever skill that you bring to the table can be applied into this new economy. You just have to contextualize it for that. And so, you know, having whatever you bring to the table, just take it up a notch in terms of applying it in this economy. But it's the same skills that we need for every industry.
And I think that's a great thing to end on, is that you guys already have the skill sets to be successful in the blue and green economy. It might need some leveling up, but it's there. We don't have time for questions. We have one question. Okay. Somebody's going to bring you the mic real quick. Her mic is not on.
Okay. We need HVAC technicians, we need electricians, we need plumbers. That's
right.
The most important thing, because we can do all those other things, but we need people to do the work. So that is important. I just wanted to say that. That's all.
No, thank you. Yes. Electricians are needed very sorely. So if you're interested in that and any of those other trades, we need a ton more people in the trades, because that's where this transition is headed. So I just want to join me in thanking our panelists today for the last panel of the day. So thank you for staying with us. And I'm going to hand it back to Star.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, panelists, so much. And Jade, I'm going to ask you to stay here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is our program. That concludes our conference for today. We still have some vendors. We still have food, pizza. Ladies and gentlemen, please give everybody a round of applause. And I could not have done this. Thank you so much, AltaSea, Jade. It was an extremely huge team effort. Thank you so much, Jade and Jenny and Terry and Stacy and Alex and Robin. Where's Robin? Robin, I adore you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please visit our exhibitors. Thank you to our sponsors. Do you want to say anything, Jade?
And thank you to Star for helping us pull this all together. We're here till 2:30 today, so we have time, hang out, get some food. You don't have to go home yet.
Thank you. That's it.